So after looking at reduce in the previous video, let's look at filter this time around. Now, what is filter? It's a method just like map and reduce. And it does something that's, I think is very clear from the name. It filters, let's say, an array, a list of things. So if we have this kind of array here, and we want to split it up into like 5 things again, and it can be just numbers, let's say. It can be 5, 2, 1, 10, 11. And we just want the numbers that are greater than 10 or greater than or equal to 10, let's say. Filter is also a higher order function in that it takes a function, and using that function, it will filter your elements. So what you pass to filter is something that's called a predicate, or you can call it predicate, is simply a function that returns true or false. It returns yes or no. So it goes true or false. And an example would be is let's just say greater equal to 10, and just returns, takes x and just returns x greater or equal to 10. And then what filter basically does is it just returns another array with just the elements that were greater or equal to 10. So it's just going to return a smaller array of 10 and 11, and that's all filter does. It's very intuitive, it's very simple. So let's look at how we would implement this, first of all, in a kind of naive way. So let's say filtered pets. It's going to be an empty list, and we're just going to do for let I equal 0, I less than pets dot length, I plus plus. If pets of I dot age is greater or equal to 10, filtered pets dot push pets of I, sorry. And then we can return filtered, or actually we don't have to return anything because we're doing it a kind of ugly way. And so we're just going to say we're going to put this into a function, or we're going to say filter pets and then we're going to call it. This is, by the way that I would not recommend to do it for all the reasons we discussed earlier. So just to recap, we're dealing with this kind of global state here, or this kind of shared state between functions, which is not really nice. We're changing it from all over the place, and we're not really abstracting our functions really nicely. So this is really not a good way to go. But you can see that it works. We get Bobby and Timmy, and their ages 10 and 12. Now, let's see how we would implement filter. Well, if we were to implement this in a more generic way, we would take in our array in our function, and for every element in our array, we'd just say filtered array is going to be empty. And for every element in our array, we're going to say if function of array of I filtered array dot push array of I. And actually we can do the same thing here that we did with map, just pass the index and the array in case we need it. And then we can just return our filtered array. And what is our predicate? Our predicate is very simple. It's going to be is pet age greater, or GE, let's just say GE10. This is not the best method, but just the best name, just to avoid having a really long name. And it's not going to take an age, it's going to take a pet. So we're just going to apply it onto every single function of our array. So what this will return is, just as a side note, I do see people doing stuff like if pet.age greater or equal to 10, return true, else return false. I see people doing this type of thing, and it's not really, wrong per se, but it's just you're writing a lot more code, and this kind of pattern doesn't really make sense. You could just, this expression, simply by the fact that it is inside an if, is already a Boolean expression. So it is true or false. You can just return that, and that's a lot easier. You don't have to do all that. And I would just recommend doing it like this every time. There's really no reason to do the other way that I just showed. So this is going to be our filtering function, our predicate, and it's just going to return true or false. It's all it's going to return. And then how do we call this? Well, we're gonna say let filtered pets be filter pets with not array, but is pet age greater or equal 10. And if we run this, well, filter is not defined because we didn't change the name. I'm just going to call it filter. All right. And so you can see that we've re-implemented filter. But again, like we saw with the other functions, there's no reason to re-implement it. And if I comment this out, you'll see why this code is going to be a lot clearer, because you can just do pets.filter. You see, and then basically you don't need any of this code here. And your code is reduced from something that was kind of really fat and ugly and kind of hard to reason with. We've gotten rid of the shared state. We've split out, we've abstracted our real logic that was happening, our pet-specific logic in this case. So we've taken out this function so that it's really clear what we are actually comparing based on, or what we are filtering based on. And then we simply use the built-in filter method of array. And then that gives us this really short code. And actually this code is reusable in any case. So basically filtering happened with only one line. And if we run this, we can see that it works just fine. So in short, that's really it for filter. And if you would like to, if you have a list of things and you would like to return a subset of those things based on some condition, instead of going through all of those things individually, I would recommend that you use filter with a function, pass a function to it, which describes whether something is true or not, and use that because it's going to make your code a lot shorter and a lot clearer.